Hi, and welcome to St Peter's Parish Thought for the Week. I'm Steph Mawhinney. This week I've been thinking about a verse from Luke chapter 8. But he took her by the hand and called out, "Child, get up." This verse comes from one of my favourite stories about Jesus. An important local leader begs Jesus to come to his house because his only daughter, who's only about 12, is dangerously ill. While Jesus is on his way, a woman comes up behind him in the crowd. She's been suffering with constant bleeding for as long as the little girl's been alive, and she believes that if she can just touch Jesus, she'll be made well. And she manages to touch him, and she is made well. Jesus stops, pushes her into identifying herself, and then sends her on her way in peace. But it's too late. Messengers come from the child's house to say she's dead. Jesus tells the girl's father not to be afraid, continues on to the house, and the story ends with him miraculously raising her from the dead and restoring her to her mother and father. I love this story because it shows Jesus' deep compassion and his extraordinary power. But recently I read it with new eyes because I read it on the same day that I'd just been reading in Leviticus that according to Jewish law, a woman who's having a discharge of blood is unclean, and dead bodies are unclean. Both are so unclean that anybody who touches either of them becomes unclean for the rest of the day themselves. But in this story, Jesus is touched by a woman having a discharge of blood, and he takes the hand of a dead child. In both cases, as a Jewish teacher, we might have expected him to shrink away. But Jesus doesn't flinch. Far from being made unclean by the close contact, it's like he is so clean that the flow is reversed. He makes the woman clean, and her bleeding finally, after all these years, stops completely. He makes the girl clean, and she returns to life. It's like this. If I pour this Ribena into this water, the water becomes Ribena-y too. Something unclean touches something unclean. It becomes unclean itself. But with Jesus, it's different. Adding the Ribena makes the colour of the Ribena disappear. When Jesus touched something unclean, he made it clean. Sometimes we think we are too bad, too messed up, too dirty to come to Jesus, that I need to get my head straight before I can pray, that Jesus won't want to know until I get my life sorted, stop the habit I'm ashamed of. What we see in this story is that even when keeping his distance would be the sensible, even the good thing to do, Jesus makes himself available. He stops and engages with the woman, not to rebuke her for making him unclean, but to affirm that he has made her clean, to draw her out to live the new life he has made possible. Even though that makes him late going to the important man's house, so late that his sick daughter has died. He persists in going to see this dead daughter. He doesn't stay away to avoid touching a dead body. He goes right in, takes her hands, calls to her, and she gets up. This is still what Jesus is like. Nothing can stop Jesus reaching out to people in need. Nothing can contaminate him. Nothing is too difficult. He even raises the dead. And when the time came for him to die, his goodness and power overcame death itself, putting it into reverse so that he too rose from the dead. This is the new life he invites us into, a life that starts now, a life that can be made clean now, whatever dirty laundry we have to bring to him, a life that will ultimately join him in being raised from the dead. So don't hide away. Find a quiet space and talk to Jesus about all the things that weigh you down, all the things that make you feel not good enough, all the things that take away your hope. Remember that however heavy things are that you're carrying, they can't be heavy enough to drag Jesus down with you. Instead, he will lift you up and make you whole. Why not start by reading the whole story in Luke 8, 40 to 56?